22.
Ordinance number 19, amended from the 497. The following describes 6-acre parcel belonging to Jerry and Sarah Ray. The Palmer Forest is hereby zoned from the general agricultural and forestry district to the single family residential. The ordinance is adopted by the zoning and planning commission. The emergency, the council, and the all 7 days.
You've heard the ordinance. What's your pleasure? Mr. Cosgrove, seconded by Mr. Wagner. Mr. Bindle.
The background on this is that the applicant wants to buy the land that they currently have to go to the residents. Therefore,
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ordinance is passed. I think we're at 23.
Ordinance number 20, amendment number 498. That the following described 24.79 acre parcel belonging to Eugene and Patricia Schubert, the town of Indiana, is hereby rezoned from the general agricultural and forestry district to the agricultural and residential. Ordinance is offered by the zoning and planning commission. The emergency and council will be rejected all 7.
You've heard the ordinance. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee, seconded by Mr. Wagner. Discussion, Mr. Bindle.
this is another existing lot from 20 years ago.
Okay, so we're bringing it up to today. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ordinance is passed. And then number 24.
This is the ordinance number 21, amendment number 499. That the following described 2.33 acre parcel belonging to Richland and Cheryl Stecker of Mile Forest is hereby rezoned from general agricultural and forestry district to the single family residential district. The ordinance is adopted by the zoning and planning commission.
You've heard the ordinance. What's your pleasure? Mr. Williamson, seconded by Mr. Gentis. Mr. Bindle.
Background on this one is that the farmer or applicant wants to go to the residents. I ain't going to be split off, so it's not that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ordinance is passed. And number 25.
This is the ordinance number 22, amendment number 500. That the following described 2.05 acre parcel belonging to the Staley family tribes in the town of Willow is hereby rezoned from the general agricultural and forestry district to the single family district. The ordinance is offered by the zoning and planning commission committee. The agendas of the council all 7.
You've heard the ordinance. What's your pleasure, Mr. Manning? This is call. Seconds. And Mr. Bindle.
There's an existing farm house on the farm. They're separating off one of the farm houses to set up.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of this ordinance signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ordinance passes. Now, Mike, while you're up there, perhaps you could cover items 27 and 28 on the agenda. Report on petitions for zoning amendments received since the last board session, and a report on zoning petitions recommended for denial by the committee.
So there's a petition by Pearl Lenz to zone 2.55 acres from A portion to residential 2, section 5 from Willow. There's a petition by Kyle Walk to zone 16 acres from A portion to residential, section 32 from Marietta. And there is a lone Hidden Springs petition for 50 acres of A portion to residential.
Okay, thank you.
And for petitions denied is 0.
Thank you. Great. Now, because I'm the chair of this board, we are going to move, jumping around a little bit on the agenda, but I see a lot of folks up here, and I suspect I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that they are most interested in items 15, 16, and 17 on our agenda. And item 15 is a resolution amending the committee structure to reflect the county administrator's statutory authority on this meeting. Number 16 is a resolution amending the job descriptions of department heads to reflect the authority of the county administrator. And number 17 is a resolution amending the county administrator's job description. Now, I've gotten a lot of comment and advice on how to run this meeting tonight, and all of it good, right? Any advice is good. And what I don't want to not to allow public comment, and so I'm going to allow that. But I would caution, in what we're going to have to do for public comment is you're going to have to go up to this podium in the back, state your name, and give us whether or not you're in favor of or against, I guess. And then we're going to limit your remarks to 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and you're going to get one time up here, and we're not going to have give and take between the board and people commenting back there. So it's going to be a shot and a chance to be heard. Now, before we do that, though, we have to have something on the floor. And what I'm going to ask is to take up item number 15, a resolution amending the committee structure. Mr. Vlasic, if you would please. Yes, I do.
This is resolution number 74. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the committee structure resolution is hereby amended by repealing the following crossed out words and adopting the following regarding the following committees. I think that would just be
Yes.
for the Agricultural Extension Education Committee, added is provide oversight and advice on the hiring of. Health Support Committee, provide oversight and advice to. Fair Recycling Committee, provide oversight and advice to. Joint Ambulance Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. Land Conservation Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. Parks Commission, County Parks Commission, provide oversight and advice regarding. Property Building and Grounds Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. UW Platinum Richland Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. Veteran Service Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. Zoning and Land Information Committee, provide oversight and advice regarding. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution is authored by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer of the agenda, Scott C. Turner. All signing.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Nelson, seconded by Mr. McKee. Discussion. Now, I will invite the board to discuss this, but remember, you'll have to go back there or come up here to make a comment. No? Okay. Then I will invite members of the public, and that's Mr. Anderson, I think. Yes. Please identify yourself and take it away.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Dominic Anderson, Richland Center. I'm concerned about the Veteran Service Office being included in this. Is the administrator going to advise or oversee and advise, or is the administrator going to supervise the Veteran Service Office?
You're asking a question.
Well, can we get a comment on that? Because I didn't understand the reading.
Oh, excuse me. The first motion or the first resolution before us is changing the role of the committee. All right?
So the committee.
We're not down to the supervision yet by the administrator.
So the committee is no longer going to supervise the Veteran Service Office.
That's right, committee is going to advise and whatever else that wording was.
Well, I think there's a lot of concern here by the veterans that the service office is not gonna be as independent as it needs to be. My understanding from the committee, the Veteran Service Committee meeting, last time was, that the administrator is gonna have a couple of roles. One of them's gonna be to reduce costs and oversee costs, and one of them's also gonna be to possibly supervise the Veteran Service Office. That greatly concerns a lot of veterans, because those two roles can lead to a lot of conflict. Right now, the Veteran Service Officer has a great amount of support in the community, as people may have realized recently. And the veterans aren't going to be happy if they start getting cut because an administrator puts pressure on somebody because they're the supervisor. And the administrator, if his duty is also going to cut costs, he's going to be wanting to do that. And I think I speak for all of us as the veterans that are here that we would wish you would reconsider that and vote nay, vote against that. There was 26 veterans that was informed in the last 24th committee meeting. That's quite a few. If we're watching this, I haven't seen the veterans. There's a lot of veterans who was presented at the committee meeting are repeated here. There's infighting amongst the group and people posture and so forth, but I've never seen them united. All the veterans groups united as they are right now.
Okay, thank you. After 2 minutes in, another speaker.
The Veteran Service Officer. If you look at chapter 45.80, that's covered under the state statutes. If you look down under number 5 for CPSO duties, it says perform the duties prescribed by law, including those duties under paragraphs A to D, separately and distinctly from any other department. Separately and distinctly from any other department. When I reached out to some other veteran service officers in other counties, they said that I really needed to bring that up and to make sure that you recognize it. This is a slippery slope. This is a very slippery slope. I'm not saying that the county administrator would, but he could dictate to me what claims I can use, how I can help our veterans, where my grant money goes. It's a very slippery slope. I'm not saying that necessarily Mr. Langrick would do it, but anybody that got his job after could. This is a role specifically for the county administrator. The county has the oversight ability to dictate what offices are supervised by their committees versus which ones are not. My office is very unique, and I would greatly benefit from leaving my 5 veterans supervisors that are on my committee to continue to supervise me. I have mountains of data that can prove to you that my office is very successful and has never been doubted otherwise. The way it runs now is the way it should continue to run. This is a slippery slope, and many occurrences, many things could change from this and for the worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Past department commander for the Brook Park, and that is department commander, I want to say. I'm also on the board of directors for Wisconsin Vietnam Vets, board of directors for High Ground, board of directors at Camp Hickory of the High Ground, and in general, working with veterans around the state. Now, one thing, Tom, that has come forward to me is that whenever the county board has tried to put the county service officer underneath the administrator or under health and human services,
is if we allow micromanagement by a county employee, we feel that a lot of work will not be accomplished by the Veteran Service Office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next. Mrs. Forehand.
For those who don't know me, I'm Amy Forehand, and I'm the Assistant District Attorney, as well as an Assistant Corporation Counsel. And in that role, I wear many hats, including representing Health and Human Services in a number of type of hearings, as well as the Director of Child Support. Honestly, I was shocked when I heard this had any controversy to it, because when you hire an administrator, exactly what you would hire an administrator for is what's being proposed in these ordinances. The idea is to have somebody who's overseeing the entire county, so the entire county is working the same way. I have been here for 18 years, and I may be the one person who sees many different departments because of what I do. And what we've had for the last 18 years since I've been here are 20 separate islands working in different directions and against each other. And having the administrator is one way to make sure that we're all working towards the same thing. In my experience, I've not seen this being as a micromanaging. I don't see how he could have time. The department is going to tell you that they're unique in what they do. And that's true. And that's why I don't foresee micromanaging. He's to see the big picture and making sure that we're all following what is set out by the policy of this board. And if people have any problems with what is happening, they still have an oversight committee who not only is going to be oversighting them, but is part of this greater board, who is the supervisor of the administrator. So it's not as if he's going to have unwieldy power. It's just something for there to be a go-to between the department heads and the county board. So hopefully we can work better instead of having all these puzzle pieces that nobody can seem to put together. Hopefully one person can put them all together.
All right, thank you. 2 minutes, thank you. Do we have any other comments? Any board member want to make a comment before we vote on this?
Can, Mr. Chair? Can you hear me?
Yes, Ingrid.
Okay. I wanted to say, is my audio coming through clearly enough?
Yes.
Okay. I did have a question or something for the board to perhaps consider on this. And again, I'm new to this, so if I misunderstand, please correct me. But I am wondering if there is a provision within our setup as far as having the county administrator, where if a county employee or maybe a director would have potentially an ethical concern or something that could be considered a conflict of interest with the county administrator, would there be a way for them to present something to the county board? In other words, generally you're going to want to go through the chain of authority, correct? He's in a supervisory position. However, if there was something that was a concern, a conflict of interest, an ethical concern, is there a way for them to circumvent that and present a concern to the county board?
Mr. Chairman, may I speak to Supervisor Glassbrenner's question? There is, Supervisor Glassbrenner, a county ethics board, and there's a provision where citizens or supervisors can appeal matters to the county ethics board, and that board has jurisdiction, among other things, over conflicts of interest. So the second question, or second comment I have regarding the earlier discussion from regarding the veterans is of course, the county has decided to create a county administrator position, and Mr. Langwick is the county administrator. And by virtue of that, the statutes of Wisconsin, section 59.18, give certain authority to the county administrator, and these 3 resolutions regarding the county administrator are all in accordance with that statutory provision, section 59.18 of the Wisconsin statute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Mrs. Glassbetter?
Yes, I believe so. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments by supervisors? Mr. Gatchel. Mr. Gatchel's going back to the mic.
We are voting on the oversight right now.
Right now.
The next resolution is for department heads. I think it's an important conversation though to talk about what the interaction between the boards, the individual boards over the department heads and that relationship with the county administrator. Can we get some clarification on that, or can that be explained?
Yes, Supervisor, the statute that I referenced, section 59.18, gives the county administrator authority to appoint and supervise department heads of nearly all departments of county government, appoint and supervise. There remains a role, of course, for the appropriate committee to set policy, but that's the authority that the legislature gave to the county administrator.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Gatchel.
Spoke.
Yeah,
No.
that'd be good.
Okay. As chairman of the Veterans Committee, by state law, we are appointed to supervise the CSO. In this case, we are here legitimately. We will do everything that we can to maintain the powers that we have been given. However, on a day-to-day basis, as I said in our last meeting, we meet once every 2 months. And for things that go on in between that period of time, we are generally not available to deal with those things. And a county administrator's position is to do that. County administrator works with us, for us essentially, and he would, he's got a lot of latitude, which was stated by our friend back here, Ms. Forehand. And so I don't see any problem with this. I think with the state statutes as they are, if they're changing from one form of government to an administrative form of government, I don't see this as being a problem. I think that we can protect everyone that we need to kind of work together and make this thing work. I think all in all, this is probably a good. That's my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Frank.
Again, I'm Bob Frank. Again, new to the board a little bit, so looking at these resolutions, it looks like it's a series of events that have to happen to make this all come together. My first question is, maybe this is for personnel and finance. Are other counties and other agencies handling this? Is this pretty much a common thing? Have they looked at other counties to see how this is being done? And my second question is, there are state statutes, as mentioned, for the Veterans Office. Those items are set by the state and then could be overrun by anybody because that's their state statute. So I would think even an administrator or whoever, whatever department that is, there is a state level standard. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is at this point. I haven't researched that out. But my question is there any conflict with that? So first question is, how are other counties or agencies handling that? Personnel and finance, comment on that. And the second one, if there's any further state law questions that we have to deal with.
Well, I can comment on the first item, Bob. We had a committee structure to study this whole issue, and there are various ways of handling county government. One is a committee, strong committee, which we had. The others are coordinator, and then the administrator, and then all the way up to county executive, which is and elected like they have in Dane County, Milwaukee County. So we looked at all of those things. We looked at the coordinator forum. Victor has been stuck with the coordinator title for many years, and that's by state statute. We had to have a coordinator to handle all of the things that come to the county, but he was never, basically, he was a guy that had this duty, but he wasn't given the tools to do it. In other words, if somebody had a personnel issue and they came to Victor, I shouldn't speak for Victor, but I saw this happen. All he could do was, well, here's our manual and this is a suggestion of how we should do it. Couldn't say, you're gonna do it this way, okay? And that's why we decided that we had to go to the administrator form of government.
Mr. Chair, this is Sean. Can I speak to Mr. Frank's question?
You bet.
So on the first question, I couldn't quite hear the second one, but on the first question, have we looked at other counties to see if this is a similar model to what they're following with giving supervision of department heads over to the administrator? And yes, we have done that. That was part of our process when we had the temporary committee to study administration. We had several administrators and administrative coordinators come to the committee and explain this to us. We've also gone in person, a handful of us down to Iowa County, which does have an administrator, and they do follow a similar chain of command. And this all, of course, follows state statute as Mr. Southwick mentioned.
Thank you. Mr. Southwick, could you comment then on any possible conflict with the laws providing the Veterans Service Office and possible conflict?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no conflict between dealing with the three resolutions that the county board will consider tonight. There's no conflict with other statutes. Again, the principal statute giving power to the county administrator, section 59.18, and at the risk of repeating myself, that statute gives the county administrator the authority to appoint and supervise all department heads. And that is, and the statutes relating specifically, for example, to the county veteran service officer is not in conflict with that statute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Severson.
Going off of what Mr. Southwick talked about, 59.
You've got to go to the mic, Gary, please.
Going off to what the Corporation Council said about 5918, it does also say in statute 4580, Prime 1C, that the county administrator shall appoint and supervise. Now, 45.80 under the Veterans Service says it twice. 59 that department head and a service officer position says that it will administer, shall appoint and supervise the veteran service officer. Now in Jackson County versus state, it was reiterated that county government is a creature of the legislature. And it has such powers, the counties have such powers as to what the legislature gives them. And it's been held up for over centuries, a century and a half, that counties can only do what the legislature gives them. Administrative home rule. Unlike a municipality or a city, they have regular home rule where they can dictate how they interpret the statute. So we're at a place where we have to abide by the statute, and it says it in there clearly. I don't know how we cannot abide by the statute without breaking the law.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we do have a motion and a second, and we've discussed item number 15. This is a committee structure resolution. We haven't yet gotten to the job descriptions or either the department heads or the county administrator. But I think we're ready to vote on agenda item number 15, a resolution amending the committee structure. Does anyone need it restated at this point? All right, Mr. Legire, Mr. Lossy, would you restate it, please? The number 15, resolution amending the committee structure.
The committee structure is hereby amended by repealing the following crossed out words and adopting the following underlined words regarding the following committee.
Well, except I will say that the word supervise is crossed out and it's then replaced by provide oversight and advice on the hiring of, or I guess it depends. The Veteran Service Committee in particular says provide oversight and advice regarding, rather than supervise, okay? You understand what we're doing? Okay, I'm gonna call a question then. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Yes, there was a motion. The resolution carries. Thank you. Now, number 16, Mr. Vlasic, please.
This will be resolution number 75. Now therefore be it resolved that the report to provision in the job descriptions of the following department heads are hereby amended to provide that the positions are to report to the county administrator. Child support, county conservationist, corporation counsel, emergency management director, fair and recycling coordinator, health and human services director, highway commissioner, courthouse maintenance supervisor, management information systems director, Pine Valley administrator, UW Platteville Richland Food Services supervisor, veteran service officer, zoning administrator. Be it further resolved that any of the above listed job descriptions that do not contain reports to the division are hereby amended to include a statement that the department head reports to the county administrator. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage of publication. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, Linda Childress, John Seaton, David Turk, Paul Simon.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Wagner, seconded by Mr. Seaton. Comments? And this, basically these are all related resolutions. The first one changed the committee structure, not the structure, but the purpose of the committee, duties of the committee. This one changes the job description of department heads. And they are enumerated, and there are 13 in this list. So do you have it before you? Are you in understanding of what we're doing here? Mr. Gatto.
You can hold the line.
I need to restate my previous question, and hopefully I'll do it in a better way. So there is some various oversight boards that previously have overseen these positions that were not voted on in the previous resolution. What will be the interaction between those boards and the county administrator?
Okay, I'm going to refer then to Mr. Murphy Lopez. Can you answer that question, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm just right now browsing to the document that we considered at the last Rules and Resolutions Committee. So let me just 10 seconds to get to the right documents. I can read from it, and then I can refer folks to this. So if anyone wants to see this document I'm looking at, it's posted on the Rules and Resolutions Committee website. We're now adding all of our meeting materials there so folks can see what we were looking at. There was a discussion item at the last meeting on the authority of management, the roles of members, and chairs of committees, boards, and commissions. And that document is under discussion currently. Mr. Langrek brought it to our committee for our feedback. He's taking it to department heads for their feedback, and then we anticipate it's coming back to the Rules and Resolutions Committee in August. And to more directly answer your question, what it currently says regarding the roles of the committees, boards, and structures, committees, boards, and commissions, is that they would be responsible for establishing policy, similar to what Mr. Southwick said. They would also still be carrying out what's in the state statutes under their appropriate oversight committee, if there's any language regarding that. And then they would also still be they'd be participating in the process of debate. They'd be giving that oversight and advice we talked about regarding the management of each department. They'd be responding to the needs of constituents and expressing the priorities for the delivery of county services through the annual budget. So that document, anyone can take a look at, and I'm happy to take any further questions. That document has not yet been proposed to the full county board for adoption, but that we anticipate that may be coming forward.
Thank you. Mr. Gotchel? All right, any further?
Again, do a little bit to this. Just checking Wisconsin statutes 45.80. Again, discussing the veterans service. Talking about the county administrator shall supervise the veterans office. The appointment is subject to confirmation by the county board, unless the county board by ordinance elects to waive confirmation, or unless the appointment is made under civil service. Has the county board elected to waive that at any point that we know of?
No.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else? All right, I'm going to call the question then on this one. And does anyone need to have it restated? This is the one changing the job description. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? No. Who did that? Tim, okay. All right, I think the motion carried, then I only heard one no. All right. Number 16, Mr. Blasek.
This would be resolution number 76. Now therefore be
17, excuse me, I'm sorry, number 17. Yes.
Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county administrator's current job description is repealed and replace the job description proposed by the county administrator of Anchorage, a copy of which is on file in the county clerk's office is hereby approved. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective with the passage of the resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, Linda Jettis, Scott Seat, and David Turk all signed in favor.
All right, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee in favor, Mr. Williamson seconds. Discussion. Once again, this is bringing his job description in definition. Mr. Frank.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sending me the document. It was good to review. I do have a couple of questions. One of the questions comes up on the oversight or the hire and firing of county employees, or I think the discipline and I have the word here. Reviews all recommendations for disciplinary suspension and discharge of all employees. My question with that again comes back to the statute. In this case, the chief deputy position and other elected officials who may have that authority to hire someone. In particular, in the case of the chief deputy, it's up to the sheriff, and the chief deputy serves at the sheriff's pleasure, basically. It's not described in that here, and I was just concerned that might need some clarification.
The county administrator would have no authority over the chief deputy, because it is a job that reports to an elected.
Okay, so that's the clarification then, is a job that reports to elected officials.
Yeah.
If there are other positions that elected officials would have to do the same.
I believe that's correct. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Mr. Frank, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat the question, Mr. Supervisor Frank?
So my question is, I didn't know if there are other positions in the county, an elected official, would also have that contact or have that, a position that they would appoint, that would also be affected. I just want to make sure that this job description reflected that if it needed to.
The statute that I've referenced, section 59.18, makes an exception for elected departments headed by elected officials, people who are elected by the voters. So basically, in a nutshell, the county administrator has virtually no authority over those departments which are headed by an official who is elected by the voters.
Okay, thank you. I did not understand that was actually covering the entire department.
Right. Enough clarification. We want to vote. I think we got a first and a second on that. Yes.
Just one thing that I'd like to clarify. We have no objection to a county administrator. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that the county has desperately needed one for some time. But I really would like you to reconsider that the position, the job, should not be given supervisory powers without first spelling out what those powers and policies are. I don't think that you should be able, I think that you should reconsider, excuse my language, you should reconsider allowing someone to supervise without first telling him what his duties by supervising are, because the policies have not been established. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Gatchell is going to the mic.
To be honest, I didn't plan on speaking this much tonight. Mr. Langerup is going to do a great job, and I am in favor of a county administrator. I just think without that handshake established between the boards that I asked about in my last question, I think we're doing this out of order. So that is my comment, and my vote will probably reflect that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are you ready to vote? All right, the last item of these three, amending the county administrator job description, is before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, the resolution is passed. Thank you. All right. Then we will move back and get back on our agenda right here. And number 6, a grant application by the Richland County Veterans Service Office. Number 6.
This will be resolution number 77. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Richland County Veterans Service Office to apply for a grant from the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs under section 45.82 of the Wisconsin statutes for calendar year 2021. And approval is also granted for the Richland County Veterans Service Office to enter into the contract required by the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs in order to obtain this grant. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby authorized and directed to sign on behalf of Richland County the grant application and such contract documents which are necessary to obtain this grant. And be it further resolved that this resolution is effective on statute of publication. The resolution is offered by the County Board of Supervisors members of the Veterans Service Commission, Don C. Marty, Lee Van Landijk, and Dan Nelson all signed it.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Van Landijk. And Ms. Knock, you have a comment.
Just for those that are new to the board, this is a standard annual that comes before you every fall. It's the grant for $8,500 that I apply for annually through the state. I actually scheduled this to be put on the August agenda. I'm not sure, there must have been a clerical error as to why it's on this one, because I did want to get corporate counsel's opinion on if the verbiage is still going to be accurate after tonight's meeting, how the resolution reads. Because now that the county administrator will be signing, or as it reads, is it still fine. I just want to make sure that before we sign this.
Yes, the resolution is not legally appropriate for the board.
All right, thank you. So yes, I would like to be considered tonight.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
The resolution is passed. Number 7.
This is the resolution number 78. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the Sheriff's Department is hereby authorized to apply for and accept a $4,000 grant from the Wisconsin Bureau of Transportation Safety. Indeed, further resolved that once the Bureau approves the equipment to be purchased, the department then purchases the equipment and obtains a refund of the purchase price up to $4,000, with the grant funds to be deposited in the Sheriff's Grant Fund, Fund number 25. Indeed, further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant, and the sheriff is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passing the application. The resolution is offered by the Law Enforcement and Judiciary Committee. David Turk and Carrie Stevenson both signed it.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Wagner? I need a second. Mr. Frank? Yes. Comments? I think this is the one they get every year, isn't it?
Clay Porter, Chief Deputy. We don't necessarily get this one every year. Every so many years we get selected and awarded this one. This was just one of those years that, due to our participation in traffic mobilization, we were selected to receive it.
Just a minute. Clay, isn't this the one where you get the extra money to step up enforcement?
Negative. Those are like specifically traffic grants that reimburse our overtime. This is for equipment.
By saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution carried. Number 8, a resolution approving the county contracting with FirstNet for all departments of county government.
This is the resolution number 79. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that a figure is hereby granted for those departments of county government which provide emergency services are hereby granted the option to contract with FirstNet to provide cellular telephone service. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county such contract with FirstNet as has been approved by the Finance and Personnel Committee. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, the Justice Council, and David Turk also.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Turk? Seconded by Mr. McKee. And perhaps Barb could speak to this. You have to go to a mic, Barb. Those are the rules.
Cool. We, FirstNet wasn't available in this area when we did the original contract. We only had Verizon and US Cellular. Now FirstNet has built their towers up and are available in most of them. We've demoed with them. They do have pretty good coverage. We are hoping that the interoperability with the new radio system that FirstNet will bring us will help cover some of the gaps that we're going to have. It's not to replace the new radio systems, but it's just kind of to help with the interoperability of that. And also the pricing is competitive with all the other vendors that we have. So this is just another option for the county for emergency services.
Thank you for your explanation. Enough information to vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution carried. Number 9, accept a resolution to accept bids to demolish a structure.
This will be resolution number 80. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, approval is hereby granted for a project consisting of the following work to be done on tax parcels, and there's 3 parcels in the village of Casanova. A, demolition of the building. B, removal of the foundation of the building. C, disposal of the material from the building and foundation demolition. D, cleanup of the site. E, have the site where the foundation was removed filled and level. And be it further resolved that the lowest bid of Wanda's Construction at Richland Center, the amount of $54,000 is hereby accepted, and the contract for this project is hereby awarded to that firm. And be it further resolved that $54,000 is hereby transferred from the contingency fund, fund number 11, to the general fund, fund number 10, to the tax lien property account number 5147 to pay for this project. And be it further resolved that once this project is completed, these tax parcels shall be sold at public auction according to the usual procedure for selling tax parcels. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective in its passage and publication. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, with the gentleman's seat, and the clerk all second.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee, seconded by Mr. Williamson. We're tearing down a building. The roof fell in the other day. It caused the glass to spring out toward the building, sort of the sidewalk. It was a mess. It's too bad. I drove by the building. It's at one time it was a very stately, ornate building, but now it's time has come. So, and it's a lot of money, but most of that money is involved in hauling away what used to be. Are you ready to vote? Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, resolution passed. A resolution approving a project consisting of remodeling the small courtroom in the east wing of the courthouse. Agenda item 10.
This is resolution number 81. Now therefore be it resolved that approval is hereby granted for a 4-part project of remodeling a small courtroom in the east wing of the courthouse at a total estimated cost of approximately $16,700, consisting of the following 4 parts at the following estimated cost. $10,000 for carpentry. This funding is redistribution of the money that was put into the borrowed money fund for administrative office. $2,287 for cable chase. And this is from the interest on investments from the borrowed money fund. $300 for wiring. This is also from the interest on investments for the borrowed money fund. $4,115.76 for carpet and tile. And this was part of the borrowed money. The total is $16,700. The estimated total cost of the project. Be it further resolved that an advertisement for bids for the carpentry work is published in the Richland Observer. The bid of the amount of is hereby accepted, and the contract for this work is hereby awarded to that firm. And be it further resolved that this project shall be paid from the 2020 capital project fund number 75. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, with the gentleman's seat, and the clerk all second.
Thank you, Mr. Glassick. What is your pleasure here?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. C.
I move for adoption.
Okay, do I have a second? Mr. McKee. Now, it has been pointed out to me by Attorney Southwick that this resolution is missing some things. And the thing it's missing is the bid, the amount, and the successful bidder. So if we have that information, we can offer an amendment to add that to the resolution. So I've invited Clinton Langdrick to fill in those blanks. Thank you.
We had a bid in regards to the carpentry work for Michael Marshall decorating. $9,256.81. And then we had a bid from Badger Land Flooring. We just had to give one. Okay, just that one. The other ones are below 5,000. So that was the one bid over $5,000 required. Michael Marshall, carpentry. And was advertised.
What was that number again? 9,256.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, the figures are 9,256.81, and Mike Marshall is the other missing piece of information. I'd entertain an amendment now to add that, please. Thank you, Chad. Seconded by Mr. McKee. Let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you. And now we have a resolution that's complete to remodel the small courtroom, and we can vote on it. Let's do that, shall we? All those in favor of remodeling the small courtroom, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carried. A resolution approving or consisting of replacing the ambulance garage door in the courthouse. Mr. Blessing.
This would be resolution number 82. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the purchase and installation of a garage door to replace the ambulance garage door in the courthouse, with the work to be done by Garage Door Express of Lone Rock at a total cost of $6,200. And be it resolved that an emergency exists for this project in accordance with Wisconsin statute section 59.52.29B, because the damage or threatened damage to the ambulance and its related equipment creates an emergency, as to which the public health and welfare of the county is endangered. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, Linda Jacobs, Don C. and David Turk, all second.
Thank you, Mr. Blessing. What is your pleasure? Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Van Landijk. And we'll have a discussion. I understand because the ambulance had to sit outside in the hot sun, we actually lost some valuable medication. We can't have that. We got to do this. We have to do it. And there aren't many bidders on garage doors anymore. We only have one bidder, as a matter of fact. Yes.
What's our funding source?
What is the funding source for this? Good question.
Funding source for this is currently designated as fund number 75, out of our borrowed money for capital improvements. I believe it's coming out of 60,000 apportionments for courthouse improvements. Is that correct, or are we taking that out to the? That's what I had for the motion to go.
So if you all heard that, courthouse improvements on the borrowed funds that we set up at the beginning of the year. You need to say that? We're trying to keep track of those funds.
I would defer to the clerk as to whether it would be appropriate. I don't think it's necessary, but I would defer to the clerk on what's direction as to where the money comes from.
It does become an issue in trying to account for that because Fund 75 is just designated as one pot with some number. So in helping Victor and his office track and appropriately cutting into that high portion that would help out these efforts and solidify.
Right. Tracking. 175.
So somebody can offer an amendment to that effect.
All right, another amendment, Mr. Gatto. Are you offering an amendment? All right, second by Mr. Wagner. Then we have an amendment to use 175. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, have we voted on the other?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Mr. Williamson.
Did we take all the doors?
No, we didn't do that because
Okay,
then it
just doing
exceeded the dollar amount. We got in trouble. by doing all the doors. Yes. We backed off. All right, you want to vote? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we got the door. The door's already there. Looks great. Thank you. Number 12, a resolution commemorating the retirement of Miss Denise Lenz as director at Simon Sanatorium and naming a replacement.
This will be resolution number 83. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county board hereby expresses its sincere appreciation to Ms. Denise Lenz for her over 33 years of dedicated service at the Simon Sanatorium, for the last nearly 31 years as director. And the county board hereby wishes Ms. Lenz a long and happy retirement. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution to Ms. Denise Lenz at S12319 County Highway G, Spring Creek, Wisconsin. Be it further resolved that Ms. Tracy Goldman is hereby appointed interim director at Simon Sanatorium until a permanent director is hired. With Ms. Goldman to be paid at grade I, step 3, $22.87 per hour in the county's wage structure effective on July 6, 2020. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Monday, Brewer, Linda Jenkins, Nancy, and Dave Turk, all signing it.
And you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Severson, seconded by Mr. Ben Linda. And Mrs. Jenkins. Put down 2 seconds there. She really wanted that one. And the reason she wanted it is because Denise has just done such an admirable, tremendous job over the last 33 years. Here, here. Mr. Severson? Where is she? There she is. Hi.
Hi, my name is Tracy Gobin. I'm currently the assistant director at Simon's Recreation Complex, and I've been the assistant director under me since February of 2009. She has done a wonderful job at Simon, and I hope to continue that if you guys approve the items tonight. I just come to introduce myself. I know several of you guys, but some of you guys I don't know, so I thought it'd be kind of nice to put a half face with the name, since we're in that, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So you've met her. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Mrs. Jenkins, did you have a comment? No. All right. We'll go on then. I think we're down to County Highway Department. And then we'll vote.
This will be resolution number 84. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that subsection 3B entitled probationary period and subsection 12B entitled seasonal hiring under the section J of the County Highway Department's addendum to the county's handbook of personnel policies and work rules entitled procedures for hiring, promotions, demotions, terminations, suspensions, disciplinary action, and dismissal are hereby repealed. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective at the start of the first pay period in August 2020. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Marty Brewer, Linda Jenkins, Nancy, and David Turk, all signing.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Cosgrove, Mr. Williamson, second. Any comments, any questions here? Highway people, anything? Public Roberts here. Bob?
What's the purpose of the change? I guess the reason.
Well, I'll defer to Mr. Williamson.
Just trying to get them up to, can you hear me?
No,
People
we
and,
can't hear
no,
you.
the people and
Trying to get everybody up to the same level as quickly as possible is the whole goal behind this. And I can't remember, Chad, help me out on this. What was the seasonal hiring? I think it was getting harder and harder to get people. with the pay that we were offering. I know that was the one there. We had issues with trying to get mechanics as far as starting them in the pay scale that they are, so I believe that was a secret for hiring, yeah. I don't know if that helps you out, but.
Mr. Langrick has a comment, please.
To dovetail off of what Mr. Williams is saying too, so the new compensation plan that was put in place, Carlson Detman, called for folks to be placed at step 2 on arrival. The addendum that Highway still has on paper says that they start at step 1. So the two don't get along and they're in conflict with each other. The department has been operating underneath the second proceeding resolution that has allowed them to go at step 2. So this is a bit of house cleaning and just making sure that the highway addendum doesn't go against the resolution with the compensation plan.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you've heard the resolution and an explanation. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have it. It's passed. Number 14, temporary extension of the date by which county employees must take their vacation.
This is resolution number 85. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that county employees with accrued unused balances of 2018 vacation who reach their 18-month forfeiture date between March 17, 2020 and June 30, 2020 are authorized to carry their accrued and unused 2018 vacation for an additional 3 months after their 18-month vacation forfeiture date. Indeed, for the resolve that unused accrued vacation extended in accordance with this resolution will not be paid out in the event of retirement or separation during the 3-month extension, but rather will be forfeited. Indeed, for the resolve that this resolution will be effective retroactively to March 17, 2020 and will expire on October 1st, 2020. The resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Mighty Lord, under Scott C. and David Kirkall,
And you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee, Mr. Cosgrove, Mr. Langren, an explanation, please.
Tracy, did you want to comment first?
Please. I just wanted to mention that.
Tracy Thorson, HHS Director.
Thank you. Health and Human Services actually has an employee whose vacation would have expired already in July. And so, as you consider this resolution, I'd ask if you would consider extending it to the end of July rather than.
So right now, the resolution reads the end of June.
Yes.
So we would.
Here we go. It does. It reads June 30th, 2020. This has been a project that we've been working on for several months. It lapsed the time zone, so this would be retroactive to reach back. From the floor, if we want to reach, extend through the rest of this month, we could certainly do that. At some point, we look at putting a line in place, but we do also have handbook language that allows the Finance and Personnel Committee to take action on extending these leaves as well. The difference on this one and why it's being brought forward is to not allow the payout of any of the leave for those that might be separating. And that was kind of put into place to try to help curb unfunded liabilities of folks carrying more and then end up separating. It could equate to thousands of dollars or more impact on employees that are separated out. So if it did get extended by another month, don't necessarily think it would break the bank. And it would also then cover the folks then through July of not being able to get those payouts. Beyond that, then I would be deferring to Finance and Personnel handbook language further extension.
So you've heard the explanation and a request by Tracy to use July as the date. To have a motion to amend. Mr. Frank? Do I have a second, Mr. Wagner? All right, we're voting on the amendment then to change June 30th to July 31st in your resolution. All those in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the amendment carries. Now I'll take a vote on the amended resolution. All those in favor of extending the vacation, temporary extension of the date to July 31? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion, the resolution is adopted. All right. Now, that takes us down, I think, to appointments. And the committee on committees met and made several appointments. And Victor has them before him, but we screwed up again. We appointed Brad Wagner to the Parks Board twice. So I explained to Brad tonight that means he gets to vote twice. But he said, no, that wasn't right. So why don't you read off those appointments? Clint, all right, please. Thank you.
Appointments for the Audit Committee, Bob Frank. City Library Board, Linda Gentis. City Park Board, have to redetermine. County Parks Commission, Brad Wagner. Fair and Recycling Board, Brad Wagner. Fair and Recycling Citizen, we have resignation. Health and Human Services, Ingrid Glassbender will be replacing Marty Brewer. Ingrid was on the board previously as a citizen health professional member, I believe. To stay on the board, then she will take Marty's position as a supervisor. Land Conservation, Bob Frank. Land Information, Bob Frank. Transportation Coordinating, Ingrid Glassbender. UW Platteville Richland, Bob Frank. Zoning and Land Information, Ingrid Glassbender.
Thank you. Yes, you've heard those recommendations by Mr. Langreck, and I'll entertain a motion that we go along with them. Mr. McKee, seconded by Mr. McGuire. All those in favor? Yes, Mr. Stevenson. We still gotta do that one. So, yes, Tim. Oh, yeah, the Hidden Valley thing. Tim resigned, can't make those meetings. We didn't fill it. Yes.
Can you hear me? Or do I need a mic? They won't be able to hear you at home. Mr. Chairman, I believe that at a recent meeting that we decided to take the matter regarding Hidden Valley's appointment to the Rules Committee because we discussed the limitation of having someone just from the park board, because we were looking for someone with skills and background and interest in economic development and tourism, which is the main mission of Hidden Valley. Ergo, hope for hope, that's an issue that still has to be resolved from the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Seep. Your memory is impeccable.
All of it.
So, what Don has said here is Hidden Valley heretofore has been a member of the Parks Committee Board, and we don't necessarily think that should continue because we need to open it up a little bit and get some more candidates. So I would ask all of you if you would consider that. Yes, sir.
With a motion to include then that we accept the resignation of Richard Waslake from the Fair Recycling Institute.
And Tim from the Hidden Valley too. That should be part of this. Not on the agenda. Okay. Well, it's not going to the meeting, so all right. So I'd invite anyone that's interested in that Hidden Valley thing to approach me and sent it, if he officially makes the appointments. All right, I'm gonna ask for a vote then on those appointments. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Opposed, we have some appointments that Clinton will officially make. All right, that takes us down to, I think, item number 21. That's correct. And this is the Health and Human Services Annual Report. Ms. Tracy Thorson, you're on. Now, you all have that, you were given that before the last meeting, so get your copy out.
Thank you. It wasn't my intention to go through the annual report in any great detail.
Sure.
This is the report that covers 2019. This contains the statistical information about the services that were delivered in 2019, as well as some pretty detailed program descriptions for each of the programs provided by Health and Human Services. And finally, the financial information related to our services and how we ended the year. Generally, this report is compiled by our staff and used for various reasons. We have certain state mandates where it's required, and other information that's contained here is just valuable in understanding what's happening with our services. The services didn't change substantially from 2019 from 2018 into 2019. Generally, they remained relatively the same. However, we did try to expand some of our mental health services. Our placement costs continue to be a concern for the county, and they remained a concern in 2019. We continue to have high placement costs that exceeded the amounts that the board was able to put into the placement fund. Fortunately, in the end, Health and Human Services was able to cover the overage with the core budget. So we were able to manage that, but I guess I'd just like to point that out, that continues to be an ongoing concern for the county. I'd be glad to answer any questions about our services or the report, and certainly would invite you to give me a call if you have questions later on.
Thank you, Tracy. Mr. C?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may make a brief comment.
All right, Mr. C is waiting for the mic.
If I may make a very brief comment with regard to service. Richland County can be very proud of our Human Services Department. And in particular, more recently, we can be proud of the fact that we've done an excellent job in control of the COVID-19 pandemic. Richland County is, as a Human Services Department, is a model for the state. And a lot of the pilot projects, Human Services projects, including EDRC, had their start here in Richland County. We're looking upon our Human Services Department. I would say this to any of our board members who are not familiar with Human Services, or have not visited there, or who do not serve on the board. You should visit them. I know that, and get a tour and an explanation of the operation, all of the work that they do. Is one of the most professional human service organizations, and I've seen it a long time, and I was involved in human services for 30 years. I can say that with some correctly. Thank you very much, and I commend you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C, for those comments. Anyone else? I can echo what Mr. C said. I was on the Health and Human Services Board, I believe, for 4 years. 85. And we turned the corner as far as understanding where our expenses are and what we have to do. It's not easy. It's big money, big dollars. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you very much.
All right. That brings us to any correspondence. Mr. Kurtz, any comments? Language. Okay. We're down to number 31. Mr. Wagner, do we have a second? Mr. Costello? All those in favor of adjournment? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.